the concerts, the presentation, the commentary. You had Snoop, you had a UFC fighter. I think it was a pro wrestling announcer as well.
Right.
Like you had real color commentary, and then you had Sugar Ray Leonard. Is that production, that presentation, good for boxing? Go ahead, Q.
I love it. And the reason why I love it because it's an exhibition. It's not boxing. You know what I'm saying? It's an exhibition of boxing, but it's not the the traditional boxing. So I don't want to see tradition on that level. Once I'm here to be entertained. You're already saying you're not going out to winner. Which they really didn't. But either way it go, you have limited things that you could do within an exhibition. So number one thing you need to do is entertain. And I was thoroughly entertained by it. I loved it. The only thing I didn't like about it, just me as a boxing fan, I didn't like that a YouTube, whatever you call it, man.
A YouTuber?
Well, I mean, nothing against him because he do have a fighting background, which I found a lot more about, which I would have, anyways, that he stole the show. And you know what I'm saying? I hate the Nate Robinson legacy. not that he's a fighter or anything, but it's just like everybody look at
this. It'll never be
different
forgotten.
right now.
Never be forgotten.
Everybody was picking the athlete, and you was like, "Man, I'm gonna go with Nate because he's an athlete." I said, "Ball play ain't no fighter though."
Right. I didn't do my homework, bro. I didn't do my homework on the Paul family.
So you love the presentation, right? You love all that.
I dig it. I like it, man. I mean, it could be better now. Don't get me wrong, but that's something to build on.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But the formula, I like the formula, man. I mean, I'm good with it.
Go ahead.
And they did numbers. And they did numbers for what I did.
Oh, how many bars? How many?
Over a million.
Over a million, man.
Might have been like 1.6, somewhere up there, man.
That part.
Okay. Go ahead, JD.
Man, I gotta I hate to hit y'all with another quote, man. I love the production because it harkens me back to the infamous quote of everybody who's watched the movie Gladiator from Russell Crowe.
Go ahead with it.
Where he says, "Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?" I love it because ultimately, man, this is entertainment. While it is prize fighting, we saw a few real fights, and then the last one was an exhibition. I think it brought a level of entertainment that we have honestly not seen infused in boxing in a long time. I'd be fronting if I said I ain't like seeing Uncle Snoop get down.
Hey,
but before the main event, I think ultimately at the end of the day, this is. And Mike Tyson actually brought up an interesting point in his post-fight interview. They started to ask Mike about the production, sort of like we're talking about it right now. And Mike said, check it out. The difference between this production is there was no promoter a part of this. He said straight up, there was no promoter a part of this. We all got together. We talked to each other, one-on-one, and we hashed it out and we made it happen. I didn't have to go through all of a bunch of politics, asking, could I have this person come? Could I have this person perform? Nah, everybody signed up, got their guarantee, and bam, it happened. And so I think if boxing can just get more of that model, you can't help but get nice, entertaining fights and events. So I'm all on board, man. I hope to see Triller do more, especially like y'all just alluded to. It did over 1 million buys. So fresh out the gate, man, they got a bankroll to deal with. So hopefully Triller doesn't blow it, and they're able to really put on some more good cards.
Usually I keep the conversation going by asking a question, but I want to jump in on this. Just because I'm gonna take it a little different direction, probably a more serious direction, right? So it was entertaining. So we're doing this podcast, right? We part of it is our passion. We're trying to be ambassadors for the sport, right? We care about the sport. We care about the health of the sport. We love boxing. So one thing about boxing is steeped in tradition, right? Whether it's you go back to the 40s and 50s or the Jack Johnson days, it's always been a pivotal part of history. You go back in important moments in boxing, in history, particularly U.S. history, boxing is there, right? And so I think boxing got stuck in a rut, right? And they forgot to be entertaining because fighting is a mixed bag anyway, right? How many times have people tuned into a Mike Tyson fight? You pay $50 back in 1995,
and it's over like
and it's over like that, So part of what I think really boxing needs to capitalize on is embrace tradition, but try to bring itself on up to the millennials,
right?
Because the name of the game is entertainment, right? the act itself is entertaining. Fighting is entertaining. But how many times have we been sitting around? And I will say this, especially a lot of Manny Pacquiao cards. Top Rank was guilty of this, putting on fights we didn't want to see, and we're just sitting there waiting on the main event with not a lot of entertainment going on. I'm talking about visually. The set, it looked awesome.
Right.
I mean, sometimes we see it with the O2 Arena, especially overseas. They put a lot in their production, and here you see fighters come out through their walkouts, and you see you're happy with the way they pay for their own production and put whatever they come out with, a rap or anything. But the overall look and feel of it, I felt like I was at an event. I felt like I was at a special place, the lights or whatever. And then I'm not really against the Paul brothers getting into it, just because that the traditional part is, okay, only fighters, only this. But you got to capitalize on that UFC crowd, right? And they're focused on entertainment. UFC's not against boxing, but a lot of times there's overlap. They'll watch both, but a lot of the knock on boxing is it's a bit boring, and I don't think it's to do necessarily with the fights. Because sometimes we've all watched UFC. Sometimes their fights are boring, but a lot of times it's the production and the rollout, right? And I think if they can really capitalize with Triller, I don't think it just needs to be exhibitions. Now I don't want to see 50,000 concerts. I don't. I think a performance here and there, but they actually, I think, produced a model for boxing that it will elevate the sport into being more popular amongst younger people if you can keep production like that. Right. And that's what boxing's forgot about. They're so steeped in tradition, they forgot the future is to get the younger crowd involved. And so I'm speaking on it because I'm hyped about it, and I loved it.
It's interesting, man, because what we saw a boxing event with kind of like a WWE backdrop, right? Like we're almost like from the entrances and all those type of entertainment parts infused in it. And I will say, I do think that the pandemic also has shifted everybody's mind from giving a more entertaining visual. Because I even think about when we look at the Top Rank bubble, right? And we all talked about how Bud came out to was it Shaka Khan? You know what I mean? And if you even think about just the layout, if you all think about some of the bubble fights, just the monitors and the backdrop, and not to switch lanes, but just for a quick second, y'all remember the NBA bubble. Right. There was no fans, and people could remember how it looked like it was a video game.
It made you get more innovative.
Right. And so, the pandemic and not having fans, I do think has pushed the envelope and probably pushed us in America, Jay, I think you mentioned this, more up to what we've kind of already saw overseas across the pond. Right. They were already kind of, making things a little bit more lavish, giving a little bit more entertainment value. The ring walks were more entertaining. Right. And I think now America is kind of up to that standard of trying to give everybody a little bit more entertainment. And
they're definitely going to they need to capitalize on it. If boxing's smart, and I know that they're slow to progress. Just like UFC really brought their women along, we are lagging with that. So I'm excited about it. I hope big fights take their cues from that and really, really start to improve the production, because I think it can bring a bigger crowd and bring more interest to the sport. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is the greatest sport on earth. So,
and most definitely, the hip hop culture, man, that's the future. You know what I'm saying? And that's the number one catalyst. That's the number one catalyst, man. They selling anything you name. You see commercials for. They could be talking about anything, man, and you hear hip hop music playing in the background on CNN or whatever channel on any platform. Period.
Facts. That's facts. To your point, right quick, Q. Man, how about I heard the other day, man, they did a Travis Scott burger at McDonald's, bro.
Yeah, they
sold out, bro. Sold out, man.
You late, bro. That shit been like my kid told me about that like 3 months ago.
They had.
He got his own combo.
Yeah, it's just the same old stuff you can get at McDonald's, but it's sold out though.
It's sold out.
We all out.
To your point, Q, of hip hop culture.
Yeah, but and that's what really boxing needs to focus on. Holding on to that tradition, but able to grab a new crowd. I think baseball's struggling with that. There's a lot of sports doing that. But go ahead, Q.
We're gonna speak on something else a little later about that. I got an elevator story concerning all